All right, we are live and all set to go.
Anytime you're ready with the speech, Janet.
Okay, I'm the lucky one tonight. This open meeting of the Earthworks Board is being conducted remotely pursuant to Chapter 22, the Acts of 2022, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, signed into law on July 16th, 2022. The act allows the Earthwork Board to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. Members of the public who wish to view the live stream of this meeting may do so by going to Northborough Remote Meeting on YouTube via the link listed on the agenda. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comments. Okay, now we can take a roll call. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Tony Pini,
Here.
Ron Doucette,
Here.
Chris DeCicadis.
Here.
Do I need to call myself?
No.
Okay. Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Melanie Rich.
Melanie is watching the YouTube video, so she'll not
Okay.
be in attendance at the meeting, but she's watching.
Fred Litchfield.
Here.
Okay.
Tom Beals is here.
Okay. Do we want to go to the first hearing?
Yes,
Oh,
we
no,
do.
we could do the minutes. What about getting the minutes out of the way?
Either way.
Has anybody read the minutes?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
I move that we approve the minutes of the remote meeting on October 27, 2022.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Oh, Tom. Hi, Tom. Tom is here. Okay. Let's go.
You need to do a
Roll.
roll call vote for the minutes.
Tom Beals.
Yes.
Okay, we've got a full house here. Okay, let's go to the first hearing.
Excuse me, Janet, you need to do a roll call vote to accept the minutes. So each person
Oh, I'm
has to vote.
sorry. I'm
Nope,
sorry.
that's okay. That's all right.
Okay, let's do a roll call to accept the minutes. Ron Doucette,
Yes.
Tony Pini,
Yes.
Chris DeCadis,
Yes.
Tom Beals.
Yes.
Do we have the participants for the public hearing for renewals?
The first item on the agenda for a public hearing is the renewal permit for Mass Group Real Estate LLC at 90 West Main Street. And
Right,
I believe Vito Colonna is representing them tonight. I don't know if anyone else is there, so perhaps Vito could let us know and then run us through the hearing.
It's Vito Colonna, Cornerstone Engineering.
oh, there he is.
So the applicant, MA Group Real Estate, Raquel Menez, they couldn't be here tonight. Fortunately, they're out of the country. So I'm gonna take over for them. So they had an earthwork permit and it was granted in 2021. So it expired this, I think, late summer, early fall. So they're here to get a renewal on the work for the project over there on 90 West Main. So they did start some of the work, the site prep. Right now, if you drive by there, the site is cleared. The existing structures are gone. The erosion controls were in. They just haven't started any of the physical construction of the building or any infrastructure or anything like that. They just did the site prep to start. Do you want me to bring up the plans if anyone wants to see
On the side.
where we
Well-
were, or a refresh on the project? Anyone?
I'm good, but if the board has any questions, nothing's really changed. The status has really been the same for most of the last year.
Right.
But if the committee would like to see the plans and talk about it, then we'll have you bring them up.
I'm good.
Vito, I have
good.
a question. What's your intention for that particular piece of property?
So they're putting in it's a mixed use building. So
Okay.
they're gonna occupy the first floor as a commercial use. They're
Okay.
like a kitchen remodeler, kitchen bathrooms. So that's gonna be their showroom and office. And then
Okay.
upstairs is residential space.
So that's going to be it. Just that mixed-use building.
Yep, that's
Okay.
all.
Are there any other questions from the board?
No, none of nothing's changed.
No,
Nope, nothing has changed. Is that right, Vito?
Yep, yeah, it's still the same project. Nothing's changed since then.
Okay.
Vito, do you know if they plan to proceed over the winter or in the spring, or has there been any indication of when they will start breaking ground for the building?
They haven't set a date. I've gotten a bunch of calls from contractors. They've gone through a couple contractors. I think that's some of the delay, but I think their all intention is getting started. They had us set some benchmarks out there not that long ago. So I'm assuming they want to get going in the near future, possibly even over the winter. I'm not sure though. But each time we go out and stake out stuff, it kind of gets delayed. So I can't give a strong answer.
No, that's fine, but they are going to proceed.
Yeah, they're gonna proceed.
Okay. Are there any more questions from the board?
None here.
How much are we holding for a bond for this anyway?
The bond in the original permit was $5,000. The project's not really changed, so I don't recommend any change to that amount.
Okay. Okay, does somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a
Oh, are
motion.
there any
We
other-
renew the permit for Mass Group Real Estate LLC at 90 West Main Street in the amount of $5,000 as it initially was established.
Just one point of order before you do that, just check and see if there's anyone in the audience who has any
Okay.
questions, since it is a public hearing.
Is there anyone in the audience who would like to participate in the hearing for 90 West Main Street? Apparently not.
Okay. Thank you.
so I'll second the motion that was made by Tony.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Roll call.
Roll call. Ron Doucette,
Yes.
Tony Pini,
Yes.
Chris DeSatis,
Yes.
I'm sorry, Tom Beals.
Yes,
Motion has been. Okay, permit granted.
All right, thank you.
Good luck.
All right.
The second item on the agenda is Kimball Sand.
Yes.
And I believe that Jim Almonte is in the attendees list. And if Jim could bring him over, I believe he can speak to that application.
Yeah. Hello, can everyone hear me?
We can.
Yep.
Great. My name is Jim Almonte from Land Design Collaborative. Here representing Kimball Sand and Gravel Northborough Properties Realty Trust for their yearly earth removal permit renewal for their site on Route 20 next to Northborough Crossing. Basically, it's just a yearly process of renewing their permit, which has been ongoing for a number of years for their earth moving, the sand and gravel excavation, rock crushing operations. Not much has really changed on the site. There's the continuing operations. I know recently they repaved the access drive out on Route 20. Location hasn't changed. They just repaved that area. They did expand a little bit of the operation in the southwest corner. But basically nothing's really changed beyond that at this point. So we're just in front of the board tonight for the yearly renewal of their permit. I can certainly answer any questions the commission has.
Hey, Fred,
Yes, sir.
has there been any problems with dirt or gravel on Route 20 there?
I've not been made aware of any. I've not heard from any neighbors or residents in the area or other businesses, and I have not been contacted by Mass DOT with any complaints out there. So far as I know, everything's been going smooth. I do see the trucks going in and out every day, and I've not seen any problems there at all.
Thank you.
Is this the same one? I think last year we had a resident call in about some of the blasting operation. Or am I thinking of something different?
Nope, this is the same one. I think that might have been a couple of years ago. Maybe one of the last in-person meetings we had. The dentist down the street who built a new building had called and complained, and then he and Wayne Kimball spoke offline about additional notice in case there was any more blasting. I've not heard any complaints from that individual or any correspondence with Wayne Kimball regarding that operation. So as far as I know, it's all going smoothly, and the notice that they agreed to have has been working, as far as I know.
Yeah, that's my understanding as well. I spoke with Wayne today about that, and he gets notified, I think, 24 hours in advance of any blasting, and then notified right before the blasting occurs.
I think that was the issue. He was only getting that, 1 hour in advance notice or
Right.
something, and that was a little problematic for him. But I believe they agreed to something, and as far as I know, like Jim said, it's been working, and they've been following that.
Nice.
Just a question that after that is completely rocked out, do you have any plans what they're going to do with it?
Nothing yet. I know he's still anticipating, depending on the economy, a few more years of the current operation. But there hasn't been any plans yet for future development. I'm sure it'll be something, but nothing yet.
Mhm.
Okay, are there any more questions from the board?
Not from me.
Not from me.
Do we have any participants in the audience? Anyone raising their hand?
I do not see any hands raised at this time.
Okay. Someone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to renew the earthworks permit for Kimball Sand and Gravel.
Second it. We did get a hand raised.
Oh, okay.
All right, Janet, would you want me to allow Scott in?
Yes.
Perfect.
Hi, this is Scott Rogers, 26 Tarmac Drive. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, just a point of order, folks. If you need to close the public hearings before you do your decisions on the permits, if that's needed or not, Fred.
I don't know that it's necessary. That's how they've always operated, is they've talked about the bond, then they've voted, but the vote should, for all of you on the board, should include closing the public hearing and motioning to issue the permit. Could all be done in one step. So thanks,
Yeah,
Scott.
just want to make sure there wasn't any issues from that. Cool. Thanks.
Thank you.
So I'll remake the motion to renew the permit, to close the hearing, public hearing, and renew the permit for Kimball Sand and Gravel.
I'll re-second it.
Janet,
Okay. Are we, I'm sorry, my computer went crazy here.
we have to make a vote on it.
Okay,
We just need the roll call vote.
okay, the roll call. Okay, Ron Doucette,
Yes,
Tony Pini,
Yes,
Chris Stiskadis,
Yes.
Tom Beals.
Yes,
Okay, the motion has been granted
Great.
and Kimball Sand has a
Thank you very-
permit for another year.
See you next year.
Thank you.
See you-
Thanks,
see you
Jim.
ahead.
Take care.
Bye now.
Bye.
And the last public hearing is R.J. Devereaux Corporation at 180 to 200 Bartlett Street. And I believe that Vito is here along with Rick Gates from R.J. Devereaux. If Jim could bring the two of them in. That would be helpful.
Sorry, Fred, you said Rick and who else?
Vito Colonna again.
Perfect, will do.
And Rick Gates, okay.
Yep, Rick's in.
Oh, is Rick there? Oh, there he is.
Yep. All right. We ready to get started?
Yes.
Okay. So this is a new application for a project over at 180 to 200 Bartlett Street. Rick Gates is the applicant with Devereaux Corp, RJ Devereaux. He's on the line here. I think I see. Yeah, you said he came in. Yep. Okay. Let me pull up the plan since this is a new one, just so everyone can see what we're looking at. So this is the property from a street view. I think you all know it. There's Lammy Automotive in the back, and then there's these two vacant buildings up front, right here and here. From this top sky view, Lammy's in the back, and then there's these two vacant buildings right up front. So RJ Devereaux is looking to buy the property and develop it as a contractor's yard and for their operations. So it's a 6.7 acre parcel, so it's fairly good size, and it's within the groundwater overlay 1 and 3 and in the industrial district. So they've been through most of the other boards in town. So a lot of you might have already seen this already. They went through ZBA, planning, and conservation, and also have a Board of Health permit for the septic system. So this is the the last stop in line. So a lot of you might have already seen this as we've been discussing over the past probably about a year or so now. So like we said, the existing site has the automotive shop in the back. That would just remain. It's really not part of their application, but they're buying the property and allowing them to stay in that building. This building up front they'd use as their administration building, also for some training and dry storage of goods. This building up front they would convert to their kind of maintenance building. Would they do any kind of maintenance they require on some of their small machinery, stuff like that up in this front area. And it was split up like that because the groundwater overlay district is split right through the site. So any maintenance, that type of uses would be kept outside that groundwater overlay 1 and put out in this area 3, out in this area. So as far as the site itself goes, it was previously developed, so there was a lot of existing impervious and developed area, but we are adding new pavement, essentially back in this area was the most of the expansion. So they proposed some infiltration basin in the back and roof drain dry wells to control all that runoff. So we met all the conditions of the groundwater overlay with groundwater recharge treatment, met all the stormwater standards through conservation. So all those items really have been addressed already. I know here we're more focused on the earthwork and what that may entail. Luckily the site is fairly flat already, so there's not a lot of earthwork to do, but it is a fairly good size area. The disturbance is about 180,000 square feet total. So there is a good amount of work out there, but it's not extensive cuts and fills. It's more just kind of spread out through there. We would have a net import of fill, about 5,000 yards. And a lot of that is dealing with the gravel base and a lot of select materials that need to come in to go onto the pavement and those things. It's not a lot of kind of just general fill. We have a lot of just gravel base that needs to come in to bring this parking lot up to grade to make all the grades and the drainage work. Let's see, as far as impervious area goes, I said we do have an increase. It is 56,000 square feet, but all that has been mitigated through all the drainage system. And I'm just trying to think if there's any other items related mostly to the earthwork. We do have, I know that a concern in town, especially in this area, is related to the construction traffic. So I think most of the traffic would be routed the other way towards the east of the site, rather than routing those construction traffic potentially through the more populated areas, the downtown areas. Would try to keep all that traffic over here to the east of the site. I think that kind of is just a quick overview. I guess I can hand it back over. If we have questions, I can answer anything you may have.
I have a question. I see on, there's a proposed tight tank, 8,000 gallons.
Yep. Yeah,
And
right.
some states that's illegal. What are you gonna do with that?
Oh, this is something that was required because they have floor drains in this existing, or in the future building, there's going to be floor drains through here. It's required by building code, where anytime you have overhead doors where trucks can enter the building, you need to have some floor drains. And this is here, it's required by DEP and Title V, where if you have any floor drains, they have to be connected through an oil gas separator and then onto a tight tank. And one other condition which made it so large was that this building would be sprinklered. And there was some concern that during any fire event that some of the water from the sprinkler might discharge out into the site. So this was sized to take a certain flow from that sprinkler also into the tight tank if it goes through those floor drains, just in case anything gets into that flow during a fire event. But it is something that we have to put in for DEP compliance. The septic system itself is on the other side.
And that, I assume, will be pumped out if it's full.
Right, yeah, it has float alarms in it at the 2/3 level. So, there's still some capacity after that alarm triggers, but they do have a control panel with an alarm, audio and visual, that triggers if that needs to be pumped out.
Just for curiosity, are the driveways going to be the same size as they are now?
They are, this one on the right-hand side is just slightly bigger. I don't know if you can see, there's the existing pavement lines just inside. So it's about 2 feet wider on that side. In the other driveway, they're actually shifting the location just a little bit. If I can get over there. Let me see. There we go. Let's see if I can pull some pavement. So the existing driveway is right in this area right here. You're going to shift that over to coordinate better with the internal traffic circulation. So it wouldn't be any wider. The curb cut would stay the same width. It's just getting shifted over.
Okay, because I was just curious about, there's a lot of Amazon trucks and
Yep.
also, I was just curious how much, I don't think they're going to have a lot of trucks come in here, but I was just curious if it's going to cause a problem.
Yeah, they have a few trucks that come in and out, for deliveries and such, and then they have their own internal trucks that come in and out. But that was, I don't know if you were in on any of the meetings with planning, pretty heavily discussed during those meetings. But it's nothing in comparison to the abutters down the street.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, you beat me to the punch with the question about which way would the construction vehicles be going to try to avoid going through the town roads and potentially dropping any material throughout the town.
Right, yeah, so that's what Rick's gonna have to coordinate with the contractors coming on site, just to let them know that they shouldn't be driving up through the center if they're coming from that direction. They'll have to find routes that can avoid that center area. Most of the trucking routes you'd expect to go the other way, but sometimes you have materials that are coming from the other direction or something like that. So Rick's gonna have to just kind of coordinate with them to try to avoid anything in the center.
Sounds good.
I noticed that the gravel you have for the both entrance and exits during construction to get the dirt off the tires and all that.
Yep.
You're not putting the metal grating down?
No, usually the crushed stone usually works fairly well. If it becomes necessary, if there's any issue out here, we could go to the next step, next level. But if they keep that stone clean, as long as it's a clean and a large enough size stone, we've seen it works pretty effectively. And at least in the beginning too, they have this existing paved area. If I go up to this is the existing conditions. So while they do their initial work, they have these existing paved areas that they could stage on. When they start the renovation of the buildings and start all their initial excavations, they can keep these pads as a stabilized work area. So it kind of helps having those existing paved areas to start with.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any other questions from the board?
Go ahead. If the board doesn't have any other questions, I have a couple of comments, but first I would like Rick Gates perhaps to, since he's here, and I'd hate to feel like he wasted his time, that perhaps he could just explain to the board what kind of business RJ Devereaux does and give them a sense of how it's going to operate once the site's up and running after the construction is complete. I know it's a little bit interesting. I think that you'll enjoy hearing about it. So would you mind, Rick?
No problem, Fred. I'm kind of used to going over what we do. So we're a utility contractor. We work with the gas companies, local gas companies, National Grid and Eversource. So this facility, once it's up and running, the larger of the two buildings, as the map that Vito just had, the one on the left, is going to be an administrative building and a training center primarily. They're going to be training all our employees with safety, how to operate out in the field, not only small equipment, large equipment, but how to put the gas piping together and do it in accordance to what the gas companies require, the DPU and state federal regulation. The other building, which is in the groundwater 3, is our maintenance facility. The vast majority of the maintenance that'll be happening will be on smaller equipment, the equipment that actually ties the gas lines together, the plastic gas lines together, as well as the equipment that does the backfilling, compactors, saws to cut the asphalt, that kind of thing. We will be having some vehicles in there. When we say trucks, they're going to be F350, F550 size runner trucks that will come in and we'll change the oil brakes. Out of the eight or so that we're going to be doing, so once a month we'll have a service in there. But primarily we're going to have the small equipment trailers, which is the bulk of our fleet, which carry most of the small equipment and stock, and out in the fields for our crews. So those trailers come back periodically. They get gone through, cleaned out, inventoried, made sure that they are working properly and put back out in the field. So once we're up and running, the most of that area that's going to be paved is for those trailers, especially this time of year where crews are starting to get knocked off because of the weather. The towns don't let us dig. So those trailers will come back to the yard, and really it's one of the primary functions of this yard is a place to put all our equipment. We've been scrambling for years on where to put the items, but that's basically what we're going to be doing. There's going to be very little large traffic like our neighbors. It'd be insignificant compared to what's going to be down the street. So that's what we're going to be doing there.
I have a question, sir. I assume once you test and you train these gentlemen that once you have a pipe together and you use pressure of air or something, not gas, to prove they did a good job, there'll be no gas.
Right. There'll be in the training facility. We're not putting it up to what we do out in the street. In fact, I don't think they even pressure test at all. We end up cutting the joints apart and physically looking at them, bending them, breaking them, making sure they're done properly. And it's really about the timing and how they put it all together. So there's no solvents, there's no compressor or any pressurized in our current facility. So there's going to be nothing there from that aspect of it. It's more about how you prep the fittings, clean the McElroy equipment that actually shaves, heats up, squares up the pipe so that it fits perfectly. And all that goes along with making sure that gets done properly is a lot of the training end of it, knowing what fitting goes with what, how long it heats up, how long you got to let it cool, all the little nuances that go along with that. So it's a fairly extensive setup when it comes to that, because we work with as small as 1/2-inch pipe all the way up to 12-inch. So they got to learn every size, and every size has a little different wrinkle, if you will, on how it goes together, and et cetera. So there's a lot of different stations that we currently have at our place in Canton, which is way too small, but we have stations where they go and learn how to put the pipes together and how to deal with attaching to a live gas main. And we obviously can't have live gas when we're training. So we actually have some pieces of pipe that are clear so that they can actually see how everything's working, that kind of thing. So that's more of a hands-on Play-Doh feel to what goes on in there compared to what actually happens out in the field.
Yeah, so it sounds like it's more of a static situation.
Absolutely. And then we'll have a couple of classrooms doing the computer training is a big part of it too. We have to make sure everyone has the wherewithal to be able to be out in the field, not only to put the pipes together, but the safety end of things, how to set things up, how to set the cones up properly, safety around the trenches in itself. So the OQ testing is a big part of it too. And that's also part of the training end of it, is learning how to put the cones, how to deal with traffic control with the details and alike, and not to mention all that goes along with construction safety, large equipment that comes in, the small equipment that comes in, and how to operate everything safely.
Mm-hmm. Well, the land is really good. I'm glad you're coming here, because that land is sitting there like a dump for a long time. So
we're gonna make it look really pretty. I don't know if you've seen the landscaping details, but the owner of the company, Mike Devereaux, that's the first thing he said when he saw the property was, let's make this place look like a garden so that everyone, doesn't get upset with us with what we're doing or how we're doing it, because he's like, let's make sure that everybody's happy, make sure you do everything by the book, and like we do out in the field, because we have to out in the field where we're governed by the DPU and the DOT, and we're looked at constantly. So we're welcoming, coming into a place where everybody's happy, we're doing something good for the town, so we're looking forward to being part of the town.
well, welcome to Northborough.
Thank you very much.
Okay, are there any more questions from the board?
If the board doesn't have any other questions, I'd like to give a little rundown on the permits and that they went through. Vito explained how they'd been to the ZBA, the planning board, and the Conservation Commission, and this is kind of their last stop before they actually start construction. But as Vito indicated, the groundwater line bisects this property, groundwater 1 and groundwater 3, and they needed a variance from the ZBA in order to operate a portion of their business in groundwater 1 area. Now, because the portion of their business that's in groundwater 1 is the administrative building, and none of the toxic or hazardous material storage or usage happens in there, they were granted a variance so they could use that building as their administrative offices. Lamy already had a special permit to operate in that area of the groundwater 1 portion of the site. They did get a site plan approval from the planning board. They did get an order of conditions from the Conservation Commission, as well as a land disturbance and stormwater permit. I believe they're one of the first ones, if not the very first one, that the Conservation Commission has issued since adopting the stormwater management bylaw last year at the annual town meeting, or the year before, 2020. 2021, I'm sorry. So because they already received a land disturbance permit from the Conservation Commission, and Tom can speak to it if there are any questions about that permit, they were required to post a bond. And so us reviewing the project and requiring them to post a bond seems a little bit redundant, since the conservation agent and I conferred quite often on the calculation of that bond. I was sure to ask them to include whatever we would have required. So my recommendation is that you not require an additional bond, since it would be redundant. Also, then I would point out that my plan is to go to town meeting this coming spring and ask to modify the earthwork bylaw to include an exemption for projects that already received a land disturbance permit, and therefore would be exempt from the process of coming before you, so that this redundancy wouldn't happen in the future. But that's something we can talk about. And if you disagree, we can certainly talk about any additional conditions of the permit that you might want to have once we take the public input and then start to deliberate the actual issuance of the permit.
Okay.
I'm trying to think, process what you said, Fred. We're not going to have a bond when you change the law for the earthworks?
In this case, I'm not recommending a bond be required as a condition of the permit, since they've already posted a bond, or they've already been required to post a bond as part of the land disturbance permit. The stormwater bylaw that we adopted at town meeting in 2021 included much more complicated and extensive stormwater controls and measures, and also requires them to post a bond for stabilization, similar to what you would normally require. So what I'm suggesting in this case is that we issue a permit, because the way the bylaw reads right now, they need a permit, but I don't believe you need to ask them to post an additional bond because that part's covered.
Got it.
What I'm gonna recommend at town meeting, and we will have a discussion at some time over the winter and into the early spring before town meeting about it, make sure that you're all on board with it, is that we would modify the earthwork bylaw that requires a permit whenever a project exceeds, it's in the commercial or industrial area as it's allowed. There are some exemptions in there, and I would ask that we install another exemption for any project that meets the requirement to get a land disturbance permit, because it's redundant, it's not necessary.
Understand.
The land disturbance permit kicks in for projects with this land disturbance exceeding 40,000 square feet. So it's not going to be all the projects that would come before you. It's just those that are more than an acre and have already gotten the permit from conservation.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Jim, do we have any audience raised? I see a hand raised here.
Yep, would you like me to bring them in?
Yes, please.
All right, Scott, you should be able to unmute.
Yeah, thanks. Scott Rogers at 26 Tomahawk Drive again. Just a question at this stage in the process, is there an anticipated timeline for the construction?
At this juncture, I'm still trying to secure a site company to do the site work. I'm anticipating and hoping that we can start in the spring, April, May. But until I secure someone, and as you heard Vito earlier with another individual having issues, I'm hoping to secure someone to start in the spring and be able to get enough done before next winter. But spring is where I'm looking at this.
Okay. And then are plans developed enough, and they may not be, but at this stage in the process that you anticipate how long business may be interrupted to Lamy Automotive?
I've had a couple of talks with Kevin about that, and because we have pavement already there for him, I'm gonna talk with whoever we hire to make sure we secure as much as we can on the other side that doesn't disturb him. That way, when the time comes to do that transition, if you were, and start taking care of what's in front of him, he could put all his customers parking on the new pavement, the new area that's already been developed. And I'm going to try to work with him. I know he likes to shut down in the middle of summer. I want to work with him from that aspect to make sure that he's not interrupted or interrupted as little as possible. Because I've been there more than enough time to see that he's kind of an integral part of the town with a lot of customers, and especially some of the police officers I see there, et cetera. So that, and he's a great guy, and I want to make sure that he doesn't get interrupted. So we're definitely going to work with him whatever way to avoid any issues with him.
Yeah. Good idea, because he's important.
Yeah. And that's kind of obvious. And the last thing, especially the owner wants to do is ruffle feathers, disturb things. We want to do everything like we've been trying all the way along here, to do everything by the book and keep everybody happy. We intend to be in the town for a long, long time. So we don't want to start off on the wrong foot. So
good.
That's awesome. Thanks, Rick, for that answer. And thanks everyone for taking the question.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions from the board?
No,
I still see a hand here. Was that Scott? Jim?
It's gone now.
Oh, it's on my screen still. Okay.
Oh.
So since we don't, it's not necessary to have a bond for this project. We just have to vote on the permit. Is that the way it goes?
The permit and any conditions, if you want to add a condition about the truck traffic being routed to the west as much as practical, or all, something like that, it'd be appropriate. But the typical condition that has the bond amount listed in the permit will not be necessary unless the board feels otherwise.
Okay.
I have a question, Fred. What is the amount of the bond that's previously been established?
I don't have it in front of me, but as I recall, it was somewhere between $14,000 and $15,000. I went over the process that I use for calculating your bonds and recommending to you whenever there's a permit based upon the size of the project and the information supplied in the application with the Conservation Commission agent. And the permit and the plans that they received and reviewed are the same as the plans that you have before you tonight. So I would expect that the bond, unless Rick knows off the top of his head, I think it was around 14,500 or 600, but it was not more than $15,000 as I recall.
Great, thank you.
I might be able to look it up here if you give me 1 minute.
Yeah, I'm trying to look it up myself and I can't find it.
When did you get your permit?
Would have been.
Yeah, which permit?
Your conservation permit, order conditions.
I think probably maybe around January, February, somewhere in there.
I think it was January, yeah.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a long while.
Let me see, maybe put it in a street file. Well, actually, I know it wasn't January because, hang on. Vinny didn't get here till May. And so, if it was Mia. Nope, the land disturbance permit's not in here. There's an order of conditions. It's not here.
Well, Fred, I don't think we need to nail it down now. I was just thinking that when we do a vote, we maybe should mention that whatever the amount was, and again, if it's around $14,000, that this board deemed the amount to be reasonable. Not that we're approving it, but we're comfortable with what has been done in the past.
Well, it's pretty new, and now that you've asked me and I can't find it, I could have sworn that it was done with the new conservation agent, which he did not arrive until May. And so if the order of conditions was issued, the order of conditions was separate from the land disturbance permit. There's two separate documents. So I just need to find it. If you'll give me a minute, I'll do that research. I should have talked to him before he left today.
There we go. I think I'm just pulling it up. I think it was in April.
Yeah, and Vinny didn't start till May, so
Let's see. I'm just pulling up the.
you might have filed in April and we held a meeting in June. Permits. Here we go. 200 Bartlett Street. It says March 4th.
Issued. I pulled up the order. It was issued the March 7, 2022.
I don't see a bond amount.
Don't tell
on
me it's
this.
cracks.
What's that, Ron?
It is slipped through the cracks.
I was sure. I know that Vinny and I talked about it, but maybe it was I got it. Is signing this permit, the applicant's responsibility, stormwater maintenance. Well, it's not on the permit that I have in front of me, but this permit is not signed because that typically is signed at the time that the pre-construction meeting is held, just when you're ready to start. Make sure that the applicant, the owner, the site contractor, and somebody from DPW or conservation is there to coordinate everything. So it's not unusual that it's not be signed, but the permit that I'm seeing in front of me does not indicate the bond amount. So what I would do is modify my recommendation and include permit condition that requires a bond of $15,000 to cover the cost of stabilizing the site, which I'm comfortable was the number that we had talked about, unless Rick has a problem with that. And that would only be posted in the event that no other bond was posted with the land disturbance, stormwater management and land disturbance permit required, which was 2022-01. I could have sworn we talked about it. So if you're okay with that, I'm
Yeah,
okay with that.
fine with
And
that,
then,
Okay.
our goal is not to make you post it twice, Rick.
And that's fine. And whatever way works for me. We're gonna post the bond regardless, and that's part of the doing business. So I'm fine with it. I can't find anything either. And if you do find something, Fred, you send it to me so that I'm gonna
I
put a
will.
correct name on it so I can find it.
I'll send it to you. I have the draft of the permit. Again, it's not signed.
Fred, don't check that. Don't stir it. Check it. Okay.
The
Keep an eye on it. Okay.
I'll verify it, but let's put that condition in this permit. The one thing I would point out to you, Rick, is that the stormwater permits, I believe, are good for 3 years and require annual stormwater reports going forward.
Yeah.
There's, like I said, there's a lot more to the stormwater stuff for the land disturbance permit than there is for earthwork, but the earthwork permit is good for a year. So when it's issued, today's date, it'll need to be renewed this time next year unless you're done.
Okay. Hopefully.
And if not, sometimes you'll be almost done and then you'll need to go one more year and then you can put the final paving on. I'm sure you'll be up and running this time next year, one way or another, but
Be nice.
I'm sure it has for all of us. So sorry about that confusion, but thank you for raising the question, Tony, because I made an assumption that I should not have done.
Okay, Tony, would you like to make the
Sure, I'll try. I guess first we'll close the public hearing and then we'll,
Excellent.
like we did the other one, I guess that's new protocol, and I will make a motion that we approve the permit application for Robert Devereaux Corporation at Bartlett Street. And it will come with a bond of $15,000 unless a bond was previously approved by another board,
Conservation Commission.
Conservation Commission.
Second,
All those in favor?
Roll call.
Roll call.
Tony,
Yes.
Tony,
Yes.
Chris DeSatis,
Yes.
Tom Beals,
yes.
Ron Doucette,
Yes.
motion has been approved.
Right. Well, thank you.
Okay, thank you for your
Thank you
patience.
very much, Vito
Thank you very much.
and Rick.
Good luck.
You all have a good holiday season.
You also.
Thank you.
Thank
You
you.
too, Rick.
Thanks.
All right, so at some point we at one of your next meetings, which brings me to the next part of the agenda, which has two possible tentative dates for January. I do not have any applications, nor am I aware of anybody that's going to submit one in the next few days. But I did speak with Jim, and he's willing to host a meeting for us on either January 19th or 26th if a meeting becomes necessary. So you tell me what your preference is as a board, which of those two Thursday nights you would prefer. And we will, I will let anybody who wants to apply for a permit that's the advertising, the dates that we need to advertise for. If there's no meeting, if 3 weeks before that, if I don't get notified that there's a application coming, I will let you all know and we won't have to meet. The tricky part is that going beyond January into February and the coming months of 2023 is I do not have a host lined up. I'm trying very hard not to take on hosting skills as well as helping you manage your meetings.
Absolutely.
So we're hopeful that the cable company and the town administrator's office will be able to work together to hire someone. It's a tricky position because it's part-time, it's night meetings, it's multiple night meetings of different boards. Time commitment is not a lot, but it's a lot of nights. And they're trying to combine it with the duties of a full-time position in the cable access department to try to get it to be supplemented with them. Jim's been nice enough to do this beyond his regular work duties. He works here full-time in the MIS GIS department, and he's been nice enough to help us out. But his time is limited, so he needs to wrap up what he's doing for us at the end of January, and then hopefully we'll have somebody lined up and trained to take over for him. So first order of business, tell me which of the two dates you prefer in January if we need to meet, and then everyone say a little prayer that we hire someone shortly after that.
Either
Either day
Fine for
works for
me.
me.
No problem, either one.
Either one?
Yeah, same here.
Okay. I'll talk it over with Jim. I will check and I'll wait. So if the latest we would have it would be on the 26th. And if we hold a meeting on the 26th, then the deadline for filing will be right around the end of this year. So in the next 2 to 3 weeks, I'll know whether or not we're going to have a meeting. Like I said, right now, I'm not aware of any applications. I will let it known for people who want to file that the 26th, the deadline for the 26th would be 1, 2, 3, January 9th. No, January 4th. The ad would have to be in the paper by January 4th. So typically a few days before that, December 31st or December 30th, somewhere around there is December 30th or 29th, we would close the agenda and say, if it's not in by then, you're done. So end of the month, I'll know. If we can do it, if somebody comes in the meantime, we will do it the week before, so as not to jam things up too much at the end of the month, but I can go that extra week since you're being flexible. I appreciate it.
Is there a lot of activity for building? What's your sense?
Not a lot of activity, especially this time of year. We're seeing plans on various projects, but nothing major. A lot of alterations. There's a little bit of work going on up at the shopping center at Northbrook Crossing, modifying the front of a couple of buildings. There's over on the west side on that building that's attached to BJ's, there's a space that's being rearranged over there. And then we had a meeting yesterday for another alteration on the building that's attached to Wegmans. They're going to put in a Sierra Trading Post over on that side. So there'll be 3 stores associated with the TJ Maxx family. TJ's, Marshalls and Sierra, I think, are all part of the same chain. They'll all be up there. But other than that, there's not a lot going on that I'm aware of, but we do have some, we always have development meetings, people coming in wanting to do various things. We have development meetings all the time, but sometimes those meetings happen a year before someone actually files. So like I said, I'm not anticipating anything, certainly nothing that's in a rush to go forward, but we want to try to accommodate them. Plus your
Okay, well, you don't have to-
permits are issued at the end of the process after somebody's been through zoning, planning, conservation, then they come to you. So the likelihood of you having to meet in January is probably slim.
Yeah.
But
I heard,
possible.
I heard a little rumor that maybe the baseball fields next to Northborough Crossing will be some construction for apartments. Is that true?
It's a long ways off. There was a meeting with the planning board on Tuesday night this week with a developer who would like to propose some multifamily. The town has, the state has enacted a process where they're looking to promote multifamily within the MBT
Yeah.
service area. And we are at the very edge of that for the rail that goes into Boston. And so there's a developer who's looking to do something there, but he's going to work with the planning board and the board of selectmen to discuss that and vet it out fully before any plans were to come forward. That project, if it were to go forward, is at least a year to 2 years away. But there has been discussion there at the public meeting that the planning board had on Tuesday night this week.
Where's the Sierra Trader Post going? Is it going on like in the corner?
Yeah, near the corner of the building there. If you see, look at Wegmans, and then there's a couple of stores, a paper store, and that last unit, that last section on the end, it's about, I think it's 20,000 square feet. There's a couple of buildings, units that are vacant. They're going to be combined. They're going to relocate a demising wall. There will be a small retail strip at the very end of that unit. But right in there, right in that section there on that same building with Wegmans.
And what's going across? Do we know yet, or is it?
It's already under construction. I forget. Not a huge shopper. I don't know if it's Pottery Barn that's going in there or Pottery Barn that was in there that's coming out. But it's in that stretch over there where the pet store was. That block of the building at the end. It's either Pottery Barn's going in or coming out, and if it's Pottery Barn's coming out, then I forget which one it is coming out that's going in there. But it's the same Home Goods, Home Sense, Marshalls.
I bet you TJ Maxx is going to move over there.
No, they're not. Nobody's moving over there. It's another business from that family. So,
oh, really?
TJ Maxx is staying. Sierra Trading Post is coming. It must be Home Sense or Home Goods, one of those two. But they're all part of that same family.
They're all part of that chain.
That's right.
It's gonna be Home, because isn't Home Sense right down?
Yeah.
Yeah, Petco. It's gonna be the Home Goods, then I'm guessing.
I think so. I think so.
Interesting.
Okay, can we get to the bond release?
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Earlier this week, the engineer who submitted the plans for National Grid at 55 Barefoot Road called and said, hey, I'm just closing out some files and I realized that I have a bond posted with you. Our project's been done. He sent over some as-built drawings electronically today. The project was pretty simple and straightforward. They put in carports in the parking lot, so there wasn't a lot of land disturbance. The bond that we required was $7,700. The work was done. Actually, there was a problem with what they did was they put carports so they could put solar panels on top. they neglected to put in gutters and downspouts, so the snow and ice that was on top melted and was falling onto the cars. So they took the solar panels and the carports down, re-engineered the structural part of the roof, and then installed gutters and downspouts, and then reinstalled the solar panels. It's all been done and complete for a couple of years now. I believe it's working pretty well. It's kind of a nice touch to the National Grid facility. So if you would be inclined to vote to release all the money and interest regarding the project at National Grid headquarters there at 55 Barefoot Road, I can give them their money back.
Make a motion.
I make a motion that we release the National Grid funds.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
You have to do a roll call.
Oh, that's right, too. Ron Doucette,
Yes,
Tom Beals,
Yes.
Chris Dicakis,
Yes.
Tony Pini.
Yes.
Okay, the next one is Gale Associates.
That is not a bond release.
Right,
That is just for your information. Gale Associates is working with the Algonquin Regional School Committee. They are proposing reconstruction of the athletic fields at Algonquin, the football field mainly. I have plans in my office. We can, I think that Melanie put a link on there, or I can get you the link if you want. It's not on here, but there is a link. The planning board's going to be holding a public hearing, I think in January sometime. And the plans are on the planning board's website. So you can view them if you like. If anyone needs any, the link directly sent to them, I can have Michelle or Melanie send that to you tomorrow. But basically they're going to rip out the fields and put in a new completely redesigned field. It's a project that they're going to, I believe, go forward for funding at the annual town meeting in April. So
what's wrong with the field?
excuse me?
What is wrong with the field?
It's grass, and they want to put in like a turf field similar to what some other communities are doing. It's a
Okay,
extensive reconstruction of the athletic fields.
big money.
Yep.
okay, is there anything else that we should bring before the board?
Not from my end.
Does anybody have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Ron,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Tony,
Yes.
motion has been accepted.